Misses 10 kilometers. Copy. Miss 10 kilometers.
Next, we'll be standing by for the command to open the parachutes and the deployment of the first two pilot parachutes.
Focus proceeding as written. Copy. Okay, the book is now very heavy, not just the book, but my head as well. So we're all sitting with our heads down, closed and audible.
Roman Romanenko reporting the effects of the crew feeling while they pass through that max G-load portion of their descent.
Time is coming. First, Mission Control Moscow. First, MCC.
Standing by for confirmation of the shoot command being given. It's about 14 minutes away from touchdown.
We feel good. Everything is normal. Proceeding with the descent. Inaudible. Pressure is dropping.
So the airplane circling the recovery area reporting successful chute deployment. That initial chute deployment coming in at an altitude of about 6.7 miles. Those circling aircraft serving as eyes in the sky for the landing and recovery forces, of which the MI-8 helicopters have at this point reached the landing zone and are circling, awaiting the touchdown of that Soyuz craft just a little over 12 minutes from now. Of the chutes, the two pilot parachutes first deployed, the second of which extracting that drogue chute, slowing the craft down to a descent rate of only 80 meters per second, and down from 230. Following that, the main chute is then being released to do much of the slowing down to the final descent rate.
The pressure is 780. Your rate proceeding nominally. We're in a lateral movement, right? Yes. I copy you loud and clear. How copy? How copy? I'm here. Don't worry about it. Okay. How copy? How copy?
Here we are getting live news now from the search and recovery forces of that Soyuz craft as it makes its final descent.
Everything is nominal.
You can see it there under the main parachute, heading down towards its touchdown just about 10 minutes from now.
What's the pressure? Nominal, we're ready. All right, everything's fine. So the seats and the seat liners are up. Oxygen is being sent into the cabin. We don't have all the parameters though. Let me try.
So while we're getting communications from the crew, you also hear the intermittent beeping sound. It's a beacon that is emanating from the Soyuz craft that search and recovery forces can use to pinpoint the exact touchdown location of the Soyuz vehicle.
Jean-Marc Comtois, and I believe it.
Right now, the craft under main chute, continuing to slow its descent to that final rate of 7.2 meters per second. At this point, the heat shield has already detached some minutes ago, exposing the vehicle's altimeter and also the soft landing engines, which will fire approximately 2 seconds before touchdown. Those soft landing engines, 6 engines located on the bottom portion of the Soyuz craft, will be used to slow the Soyuz descent rate from its initial touchdown speed of 1.5 meters per second to just 0.8 meters right as it's above the ground.
I don't see anything, but the pressure is falling. How are you feeling? Okay, that's good. We're feeling well, and the oxygen is being sent to us. The panel is lit up. We did feel the drop in the pressure, but other than that, nothing's wrong. No, we don't see anything on the screen.
Soyuz craft continuing to descend. Once it's on the ground, search and recovery forces will begin to save the vehicle and prepare to extract the crew. What exactly they'll be doing will depend on the vehicle orientation once it touches down, whether it lands upright or ends up on its side, both of which are planned for and considered nominal landings.
Is everything fine? Is it good, right?
RSC Energia specialists will work to extract the crew while others inflate the medical tent about 100 yards away from the landing zone, so the crew can be carried out and over to the medical tent to be removed from their SOCO launch and entry suits. Inside the medical tent, the crew will get their initial medical exam and get a chance to change before they're loaded into 3 of the all-terrain vehicles, which are backed up to the tent in order to assist the crew one by one to be driven over to some of the awaiting helicopters. Once then, they'll board on and fly about 1 hour and 45 minutes back to Karaganda. Now descent continuing to look nominal, just about 5.5 minutes away from touchdown.
And I really did my best, but I really needed help.
We're getting the oxygen signal, and the pressure's dropping, which is right. That's good. At the height of the 200 meters, you're going to have 5 seconds for the landing. And close your mouth. Sorry, please, because she's walking. That's wonderful, thank you. Okay, we still don't have any data, but we do get the air composition information. See, there is nothing. 1, 2, 3, I don't lit up. There is just nothing.
You can see some of the Russian search and recovery forces helicopters there in the background, currently reporting the Soyuz altitude at about 2,400 meters.
Everything's nominal. Alright. Copy all. Sounds great. Thank you. Unintelligible.
Soyuz craft continuing to descend and slow under the guidance of the main parachute. Just a little under 2.5 minutes now from the scheduled touchdown. Should get a pretty good view of the soft landing engines firing just about 2 seconds before the vehicle touches down in Kazakhstan. Everything reported nominal.
I'm trying to breathe through. Trying to do the purge. Copy all.
Just about a minute and a half now from touchdown. At this point, all of the prime recovery helicopters in place around the landing zone, ready to touch down following the successful Soyuz landing. All terrain vehicles already on site for some time, standing by. Just 1 minute now from landing.
It's beautiful. It's morning here. Copy. We are ready. I'll be standing by for your command. Unintelligible. Just wait. We're ready. We're ready.
Reported altitude right now for the craft, 900 meters. coming from the search and recovery forces. As you can see on scene, the Russian Mi-8 helicopters circling the landing zone in preparation. The ground in sight. You can see the parachute coming down and the plume coming up from the soft landing engines. An unofficial landing time now at 9:31 p.m. Central Time. The 3 former Expedition 35 crew members returning to Earth. So at this point, the crew on the ground inside their Soyuz craft, the search and recovery teams can finish landing their helicopters, begin moving in. And once they arrive at the landing site, they'll be able to inspect the vehicle, first checking its orientation, whether it landed upright or on its side. From there, they'll either build a extraction stand if the vehicle is upright in order to begin removing the crew, or if it's on its side, it'll be rolled over to open a side hatch installed inside of the vehicle. And the recovery forces reporting that the Soyuz did land vertically. You can see the first helicopters beginning to arrive on site. First helicopter delivering RC Energia personnel who will prepare the vehicle for the extraction of the crew. Reports coming through that the very first helo is indeed on the ground. As the vehicle is upright, they'll have to construct a stand in order to access and begin extracting the crew. Soyuz Commander Roman Romanenko will be extracted first. Meanwhile, while the crew is being extracted, other landing team personnel will be erecting the medical tent about 100 yards away from the Soyuz craft. Each of the crew will be carried out of the craft and placed in special seats where they'll be able to relax before being moved over to that medical tent. They'll be able to change out of their so-called launch and entry suits. Here, view inside of the Russian Mission Control Center. You can see written in Cyrillic there, yes, Posadka, the Russian words for they've landed, confirmed a successful landing for this crew. Soft landing engines firing just on time, landing the vehicle upright. Now we're standing by as the Russian recovery forces in concert with personnel from NASA and the Canadian Space Agency move in to begin extracting the crew from the Soyuz craft, landing almost on the dot there, just to the southeast of Kazakhstan. this successful landing, again wrapping up 146 days for the three-man crew of Expedition 35 returning this evening. 144 of those days were spent on board the International Space Station. While on board the orbiting complex, they completed 2,336 orbits of planet Earth, giving them a total distance traveled of just under 61.8 million statute miles. Marshburn now having a lifetime spent in space of 162 days, spanned over 2 missions, 16 days spent back on STS-127. Expedition 35 Commander Chris Hadfield completing 166 total days in space, this being his third spaceflight, having spent 8 days in space prior on STS-74 and 12 back on STS-100. Meanwhile, Soyuz Commander for this evening, Roman Romanenko, second-generation cosmonaut, has now completed 334 days in space, broken up across 2 expedition space flights, having spent 188 days back on Expedition 20 and 21. So again, all the search and recovery ground forces moving in on that Soyuz craft to begin setting up and removing the crew from the descent module. So we're continuing to stand by while the recovery forces move in on the Soyuz craft, and should hopefully be getting some video from the landing site. Once the crew is extracted from the Soyuz and moved over to the medical tent, they'll receive their initial medical exams and get a chance to change out of their circle launch and entry suits and into some more comfortable clothing. With that, they'll be loaded onto helicopters awaiting them to be flown the 1 hour and 45-minute flight back to Karaganda. Once they're there, they'll receive a traditional Kazakh welcoming ceremony before going their separate ways. Roman Romanenko boarding a Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center aircraft for his flight back to Chkalovsky Airport, Star City, his home base. Meanwhile, Canadian Chris Hadfield and NASA astronaut Tom Marshburn will board a NASA airplane bound for a flight back to Houston to be reunited with their friends and family. Again, a successful landing confirmed by recovery forces and teams over in Russia. The unofficial touchdown time coming at 9:31 p.m. Central. Continuing to get a look inside of the Russian Mission Control Center in Koryov, just outside of Moscow. Again, tonight, ending with a successful landing, the craft touching down at an unofficial landing time of 9:31 p.m. Central. The crew stayed almost exactly on their timeline throughout the day. The hatch closure coming earlier this afternoon at 2:50 p.m. Central Time. Following that successful hatch closure, all of the leak checks reported nominal. The vehicle in very good health as it prepared to undock from the International Space Station. That undock command sent on time at 6:05 p.m. Central Time, allowing the hooks holding the Soyuz craft in place to the Rassvet module on the Earth-facing side of Zarya to retract and release. Undocking and physical separation being confirmed at 6:08 p.m. Central Time, while the station and Soyuz flew just about 255 statute miles over eastern Mongolia. Just 3 minutes after separation, the separation burn, firing 2 rockets on the Soyuz craft, distancing it from the International Space Station, allowing it to eventually get about 12 kilometers or just about 7.5 miles away.
Least come into view and
You can see on the screen there in Koryov in the Russian Mission Control Center beginning to get some video from the landing site.
And then we're getting ready for the second. Beautiful? Very. I'm happy.
They're getting video now from the landing site while the RSC Energia crew begins to set up for crew extraction. The vehicle now appearing to be on its side.
She's at the very bottom. Do you need any help? No, there isn't even a joke. There are even 4 from the side of from the bottom side.
There we have Soyuz Commander Roman Romanenko of the Russian Space Agency already been extracted from the craft.
Even the suit is clean.
See him there resting as he awaits his other crew members to be extracted from the Soyuz capsule.
So take this.
Weather, fortunately for these astronauts and the recovery crews in Kazakhstan, quite nice right now with temperatures in the high 50s.
Let's get ready.
Sunny skies.
Coming out. Too early.
Sortir de là d'abord.
Okay, slowly.
Terminé.
Next, photographer Carla Chofi there in the background, part of the advanced crews that get sent out to the landing site, along with all the critical personnel, such as the flight surgeons and the extraction crew.
Okay, he got caught. He got caught there. Okay, give me a hand. Careful. All right, let's lift him up. Take this off a little bit. How are his legs? Is everything fine? Don't be in a rush. Don't be in a rush. Free his legs. Okay. Move your legs a little bit. Free your legs, and it will get you out. Okay, pull. Pull a little bit. Let me pull. Okay, did you get caught? Careful. Okay, I'll hold you up. Hold on. Hold on.
Team now pulling out our second crew member.
A little bit more. Okay, lift him up by his hands. Hold his hand. Hold his arm. Okay. Right leg. Slowly, slowly. Okay, pull him. Okay. Okay, turn him over. There we go.
Second crew member out of the Soyuz craft, NASA astronaut Tom Marshburn. Still remaining on board Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield.
Stay with us.
The astronauts will be carried over to these seats where they can relax for a moment. They're all extracted before eventually being moved over to the medical tent erected about 100 meters away from the landing zone. Inside that medical tent, the crew will get their initial medical exam. I can see some of the another Russian Mi-8 helicopter just now touching down. So far, 2/3 of our landing crew extracted from the Soyuz TMA-07M space vehicle, all following a nominal touchdown in Kazakhstan. That timing coming at 9:31 p.m. Central Time. Roman Romanenko there, the Russian cosmonaut and Soyuz commander for the vehicle's descent. Meanwhile, the recovery crew preparing the hatchway to extract the third and final crew member, Canadian Space Agency astronaut Chris Hadfield.
Unintelligible. Okay, we can see him.
You can see fairly cramped quarters inside of these Soyuz vehicles, and the crew in those so-called launch and entry suits not able to quite move around as freely as would be nice. So these recovery forces are responsible for getting them out safely.
Okay, I'm getting out. There's no place for the two of us. Okay, pull from the other side. And I can see that it was in a different format. Unintelligible.
You can see NASA astronaut Tom Marshburn. He's speaking with Deputy ISS Program Manager Kirk Shireman, who's down on the ground as one of the NASA support personnel for this landing. Also there with Marshburn, Eric Bowe, the Deputy Chief of the Astronaut Office.
Just a second.
They could have come back. They could have left. I think
What's your name? Ella. Here's some water for you. And there will be some tea in the tent. And the weather is great. Okay, and we'll take care of you.
yeah, that's surprising. Where you can see the soft
Last time, there was almost nobody, and the land was covered in ice. Sat very nicely in our descent vehicle. And
more Russian Mi-8 helicopters continuing to touch down. Right now, 2/3 of our descent crew already extracted from the Soyuz module. I'm just waiting for Canadian Chris Hadfield.
so one of our helicopters didn't take off.
Next up for the crew will be a quick jaunt over to the medical tent set up about 100 yards away from this landing site, following which they'll take a helicopter flight back to the Kazakhstan airport. From there, they'll again go their separate ways with Roman Romanenko boarding a Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center aircraft to head back to the Chkalovsky Airport in Star City, Russia, his home base of operation. While he's doing that, NASA astronaut Chris Hadfield and NASA astronaut Tom Marshburn, and Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield will board a NASA plane bound for Houston. They'll get a chance to be reunited with family and friends.
Dmitrovich. Pressure 74. Seven. No, it's the oxygen level. And the pulse is 64. What? Well, at first it was 84. Let me, I'll do it myself. You just press, take it easy.
You've been working with the whole. Yeah, I know. Wow, that's sudden. I was wondering who put that one thing in my head. Yeah, that's weird. You guys picked a good day for a landing. I'll say. Yeah.
Careful, scratch your hand.
NASA astronaut Tom Marshburn there, returning home successfully from his second space flight. Also having completed the spacewalk just 2 days ago, back on Saturday.
Vodka? Just a second. Sergey, are you ready? Congratulations on your return after the mission. So how did everything go? Well, as we have seen, everything was nominal, or there were no unexpected, there is nothing unexpected, and however this time when we landed, we have a lot of people meeting us, because last time there weren't that many greeting people, and the helicopter noticed us and actually escorted us to the landing site, and it's great that the landing was nominal. And so I tried this second type of landing. Well, everything was nominal, but we a little bit swayed from the direct course and landed on the side. And last time we didn't manage to bring the helicopters, but this time you have the helicopters. The weather is just great, so we have the helicopters. Thank you. Are you going to fly another time? We'll see. Thank you.
Getting a few words there from Soyuz Commander Roman Romanenko. You'll hear them comment on the weather quite a bit, as the weather in Kazakhstan can be quite unpleasant during certain times of the year. Meanwhile, Canadian Space Agency astronaut Chris Hadfield being lowered into his seat now after being extracted from the Soyuz craft. All 3 crew members now safely out.
Hey, do we have everything here? Well, about our lead. We put this signature in the bed kit between the control panel and the bed container.
Again, this landing on target at the predicted site, on time as well. The official touchdown time coming at 9:31 p.m. Central.
Roman? No, it's just 21 pages, and I needed to give it to somebody. It's between the control panel. And you signed it there? Yes.
It's not quite the SLS. Oh, it's amazing.
Am I in the way? Let's see it once again. Oxygen 90.
Thumbs up from Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield, returning from his command of the International Space Station. Chris was the first Canadian commander of a spacecraft, wrapping up a historic 144 days on board the station.
Unintelligible. Maybe you could ask them to take away the watch. No, not to me. To the crew surgeon.
So again, the crew right now out of their Soyuz craft, getting a few moments to relax in the seats there. Pretty soon they'll be carried over to the medical tent, which has been set up just about 100 yards away from the Soyuz vehicle. Once in there, they'll be removed from the Soka launch and entry suits that they wore throughout their descent this evening. They'll undergo some initial medical exams before loading up into waiting helicopters, which will then fly them to the airbase at Karaganda in Kazakhstan. From there, they will then depart. Roman Romanenko heading to Star City, Russia. Hadfield and Marshburn heading back to Houston. But for now, the crew members out of the Soyuz craft, which landed successfully at 9:31 p.m. Central Time. Search and recovery forces on the ground, maintaining the vehicle and removing the crew members, all three again out right now and in their chairs in the Kazakh steppe. See, among the crews out there. So again, as you can see, all three of our Expedition 35 crew members safely outside of their Soyuz craft at this point. All the landing and recovery forces there on the ground and able to get them out successfully. Among the crew, specialists from RSC Energia and also NASA and the Canadian Space Agency. Among the crews out there is NASA Public Affairs Officer Josh Byerly. And we have Josh on location on the phone right now. Josh, why don't you just tell us a little bit about what's taking place out there? It looks like the weather is certainly cooperating.
Yeah, you know, what a difference a couple of months makes. Whenever Kevin Ford came back home here several weeks ago, the weather was significantly different than it is now, but it's actually quite pleasant out here. It's probably in the upper 50s, low 60s. The wind is kind of kicking up a little bit, but it's obviously much better than it was back whenever Ford landed. All three crew members look like they're doing very well. They're in the middle of making some phone calls to families and friends and There's quite a number of media here also taking some pictures, and they look like they're doing pretty well.
All right, and it's our understanding that next the crew will be moving on to the medical tent, and then back on to Karaganda. Looking forward to that welcoming ceremony.
Yeah, so we're going to head out towards Karaganda here shortly. There were 12 helicopters actually assigned to this landing today. Two of them had some mechanical issues and were not able to take off. So we are going to wait for a couple of spare helicopters to show up, and then we all should be making our way back to the airport. And like you said, part of the crew will go back to Houston. Romanenko will head back to Moscow, and then everything should be rocking and rolling along as planned. So it looks like they're getting ready to actually move the crew to the tent here in Kentucky.
Okay, well, thanks, Josh, for your eyes down on the ground. We certainly appreciate it. Good luck getting on that helicopter and getting back. I wish you all the best. We'll see you back here in Houston.
All right, see you in a few days.
And so, like Josh reported, it looks like they're getting ready to move the crew over to the medical tent while they'll get their initial medical screenings. I get a chance to get out of those SOCA launch and entry suits. You can see them being carried in their seats to the medical tent. It's currently set up about 100 yards away from the landing site.
Be careful on the field. Okay, the evacuation is complete.
C'est
I'll show you.
Get a good view of the medical tent there. It was constructed by the personnel from RC Energia upon their arrival at the landing zone. We're now inside, going to change out of those SOCA launch and entry suits and undergo that initial medical screening before being loaded into some ATVs to drive them to the awaiting helicopters, which will then transport them to Karaganda.
Everything was very well ordered. We could hear everything really well. Everything is great. We're wrapping up? Yes, we are. Okay, I'm wrapping up.
There you can see the Soyuz craft back positioned upright.
I didn't quite get it.
The descent module successfully delivering these departing Expedition 35 astronauts from their previous home on board the International Space Station back down to Earth. 3 wrapped up 146 days in space, 144 days on board the station today. With that successful landing in Kazakhstan at 9:31 p.m. Central Time, 8:31 a.m. Kazakh time. Crew now inside the medical tent. Next step will be to fly to Karaganda, where they will then board aircraft. Romanenko heading towards the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center in Star City, Russia. Hadfield and Marshburn bound for the Johnson Space Center back here in Houston. All of today's landing operations going flawlessly, the vehicle showing no issues throughout. Everything happening right along the timeline, even getting pretty decent communication with the crew during the descent.
Great.
Your RSC Energia crews will continue saving and processing the vehicle following its successful descent through the Earth's atmosphere. You can see the outer shell definitely exposed to some pretty high heat. Temperatures rising as high as 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit during the peak portions of heating during that entry through the Earth's atmosphere. The heat shield on the bottom of the spacecraft absorbing the brunt of that, being jettisoned after parachute deployment, though. Right now, the crew's erecting the stand used to extract crew normally when it's left upright, or the items prior to crew extraction. Soyuz having some down mass capability, generally bringing back down a small supply of experiment items, generally biological samples from the crew members on board.
Could you repeat, please? The buttons are on top. On the other side. Just put the bag over. Is everything ready? GCDC.
Recovery forces continuing to work on the Soyuz craft there in the vast expanse of Kazakhstan.
Unintelligible.
Again, successful landing taking place at 9:31 p.m. Central Time unofficially. The crew safely extracted and now inside of the medical tent, undergoing their initial medical screenings before moving on to be loaded on helicopters and moving back to the airport at Karaganda. see that landing site, landing just on target. There, the medical tent and some of the all-terrain vehicles backed up, awaiting the departure of the crew members. So right now we're getting some replays from landing taken just moments ago. This from inside the cockpit of one of the Russian Mi-8 helicopters, 12 of which scheduled to support this landing. This NASA Public Affairs Officer Josh Riley reported 2 of which suffering a few mechanical issues, but obviously all the necessary personnel able to get to the landing zone successfully. These helicopters staging directly out of the airport at Kazakhstan, just to the northwest of the landing zone, 4 of which heading towards a midway point between the ballistic landing site and the targeted landing zone. The other 4 deploying directly to the target landing zone. Here you can see some views from the helicopter as they circled around the landing site in a racetrack-like fashion, awaiting the final touchdown of that Soyuz craft. Here at this point under the canopy of the main parachute, which expands to cover an area of over 1,000 square meters. These helicopters carried many of the essential personnel to the landing zone, including flight surgeons, as well as landing site personnel in charge of safing the vehicle and extracting the crew, and also erecting the medical tent. At this point, the Soyuz spacecraft was descending at a rate of just about 7.2 meters per second. Once there, you can see the soft landing rockets fire just about 2 seconds before landing, slowing into a final descent rate of just 0.8 meters while right above the ground.
Is it standing? Yes, it's standing.
Members on the helicopter reporting the vehicle standing up. The vehicle appeared to be rolled onto its side for the actual extraction of the crew. You can see one of the first helicopters to touch down, moving in on the landing zone just a few moments after that successful touchdown.
On its side.
Once they got a little bit closer look, they were able to discern that the spacecraft was in fact on its side.
How do you want the TV cameras? Maybe more to the left? And where the antenna is going to be located?
You see the first teams on the ground
And
preparing the Soyuz craft.
Going over there. Yeah, and you can break them up. Hold on. Okay. Is it standing right? Yes. Don't be rushing around. Let's open on command. Set a gate. Move away. Give way. Get the onboard documentation ready. Can't hear. Oh, they probably can hear you through the window already.
See the ground personnel preparing the hatch through which the crew is eventually extracted here at the top of the Soyuz craft.
Wipe it off real clean. Okay, let's get ready for the hatch opening. Okay, I'm standing. Ready. Attention. Careful. Hello. Welcome back. Who's there? Who's that? Give me on board documentation. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? How are you? Roman, how are you? Great? That's good.
Our first look at the return crew. Roman Romanenko there in the center seat. Chris Hadfield to his left and Tom Marshburn to the right.
Okay. Where is the rest of the onboard documentation? On top? Everybody, take a shot and move away. Don't stay in the way. Okay. Right. Good job. Hold on. Don't be in a rush. On my command. Who said, get out? Who's giving this command? Give the command. We already told them. All right to me. These are all ours. The weather is great. Okay, easy. Evacuating the first cosmonaut. Careful, watch out, his legs. Grigorievich. Watch out. Okay, got him, I got him. Careful, turn him over. Careful. Okay, got him.
Soyuz Commander Roman Romanenko being the first one extracted from this capsule.
Who are these gloves? Ramon's? Yeah, we'll sort it out later. Are we live? All right. 3 more. There are already 6. He dropped one of them. And we got 3. He gave 3 back. And I just got 3. Alright. And then there were reserve gloves. Maybe I should take a few shots of Roman. Alright, take it easy. Sergey? Okay, take a shot here. He will get out like this. Okay, give him a hand.
And this is roughly where we picked up our landing video during the live broadcast. Roman Romanenko already extracted from the Soyuz capsule, seated in his seat, awaiting the remainder of his crew, Tom Marshburn and Chris Hadfield, to get a chance to exit the Soyuz vehicle. That landing again coming on time and on target at 9:31 p.m. Central Time unofficially. Their landing site just to the southeast of Kazakhstan, where the prime landing team and ballistic landing team staged out of earlier this evening. Next up for the crew will be the helicopter flight back to the airport at Kazakhstan, where they will get a traditional Kazakh welcoming ceremony before boarding airplanes. Romanenko bound for the Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center in Star City, Russia. Chris Hadfield and Tom Marshburn bound for Houston on a NASA jet. So again, landing successfully taking place tonight, returning 3 of our international crew members back down to Earth, among them Canadian Astronaut Chris Hadfield, who was the commander during Expedition 35, NASA astronaut Tom Marshburn, flight engineer, and then Roman Romanenko, Russian cosmonaut, and commander of the Soyuz craft board's descent this evening. While they depart, remaining on board are still 3 astronauts and cosmonauts. They have officially begun Expedition 36, which started at the moment of the Soyuz departing the International Space Station. Remaining on board NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, Russian cosmonaut Pavel Vinogradov, and also commander of Expedition 36. Finally rounding out the 3-person crew for right now, Russian cosmonaut Alexander Mazurkin. Those 3 will remain a solo or trio on board the International Space Station for roughly the next 2 weeks until the launch of the next 3 crew members to join them on board. That launch is scheduled to take place from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan on May 28th, sending NASA astronaut Karen Nyberg, Russian cosmonaut Fyodor Yurchikhin, and European Space Agency astronaut Luca Parmitano to the International Space Station to bring Expedition 36 up to its full 6-person contingent. So again, all of the activities with tonight's landing going flawlessly, the vehicle performing without issue, safely delivering 3 international crew members back down to Earth. We will be bringing you continuing coverage of the landing tomorrow's or in a video file following this evening's broadcast that'll air here on NASA TV at 11 p.m. Central Time. We'll also be bringing you updated landing video and any interviews that NASA Public Affairs Officer Josh Byerly gets a chance with the crew members returned tomorrow morning. First, we'll be bringing you Space Station Live at its regular time at 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Eastern. Be able to recap all of the landing events. And then following that will be that video file, again, at 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 p.m. Eastern. But with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up tonight's coverage of the Expedition 35 Soyuz landing, all successful. Be sure to check back in tomorrow for Space Station Live and continuing coverage of life on board the International Space Station. So for now, we will go ahead and sign off. This is Mission Control Houston.
As the most forward deployed citizens of the planet at this moment, we, the first expedition crew aboard Space Station Alpha, we are well started on our journey of exploration and discovery, building a foothold for men and women who will voyage and with us far away from our home planet. We are opening the gateway to space for all humankind.
As we orbit the planet every 90 minutes, we see a world without borders and send our wish that all nations will work toward peace and harmony. Our world has changed dramatically. Still, the ISS is physical proof that nations can work together in harmony to promote peace and global cooperation and reach goals that are simply out of this world.
This night, I'd like to share with all our good fortune of this space adventure, our wonder and excitement we gaze on the earth planet, and our strong sense that it's the human spirit to do, to explore, to discover, and knowledge.
Times are hard all over the world, but this is a time when we can all think about being together and treasuring our planet. Wake up for the next year.